the 7th day before Christmas, Kohdok reviewed for me 7 XYZ cards. Yugioh. Now I know Yu-Gi-Oh's been around for a while, but these new cards called XYZ or XZs, either pronunciation is correct, are new and were introduced just this year, so I figured they should go on this list. XZs cards, like Synchro Monsters or Fusion Monsters, reside in your extra deck and are special summoned in a new way. Now, there's a lot to go over, which means it's a good thing one of the cards we got is an extreme card! XYZ cards look a lot like dark synchro cards from the show. They have a black card base with the image of what looks like stars flying through space at a high speed. Speaking of stars, you'll notice that the stars on the card are on the different side from how a normal card looks. This is the monster's rank. It is important to know this because this is not the level. Rank and level are not the same. Cards that target level do not affect XYZ monsters. It's kind of an interesting immunity, but at the same time it can have some drawbacks, such as you can't search it by level or use its level effect. The summoning requirements for an XYZ monster is a bit different. Rather than having a tuner monster or needing polymerization, an XYZ monster is summoned by having 2 or more monsters of the same level put together. In this case, it requires 2 level 3 monsters in order to summon Greatosaurus. Now, to summon an XYZ monster, the cards that are used to summon it are actually not sent to the graveyard. They are placed underneath the XYZ cards and are redubbed XYZ materials. They no longer count as cards, and they do not count as being on the field. Now, XYZ monsters have new types of effects. What happens is they can be either triggered or activated, but they are used by sending an XYZ material card from behind the monster to the graveyard. Now remember, they don't count as cards while they're on the field, so cards like Sangan or Reborn Tengu don't get their effects. However, should it be a card that gets its effect upon hitting the graveyard, such as Dandelion, it actually does get its effect because it works whether or not it was sent to the graveyard from the field. Sending an XYZ material monster to the graveyard is known as detaching. For example, Greatosaurus here, whenever it destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can detach an XYZ material from it and send it to the graveyard in order to deal 1,000 points of direct damage to your opponent. However, because it only has 2 XYZ material monsters on it, it can only do this effect twice, which kind of limits the usefulness of XYZ monsters. XYZ monsters come in a great variety and a different variety of levels, and might be able to bring back some life to some old decks that didn't have synchro support. Naturally, to tie in with the new line of cards, there is a new show called Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. What do I think of it? I think it looks like a deliberate attempt to jump the shark. Mr. Takahashi got tired of this game back with 5Ds. He agreed to make 5Ds on the condition it was the last show, but I guess the almighty dollar, or the almighty yen in this case, dictated for him. I feel for the poor guy. The main character of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal is Yuma Tsukamoto, who sports some of the craziest hair yet seen in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. He works with this spirit called Astral to attempt to recover the numbers XYZ monsters, which are apparently Astral's memories. $50 says that when Astral regains all his memories, he'll become a bad guy. Anyway, we'll still be able to see it in the United States in all of its needlessly censored glory. And that's the basics of the new Yu-Gi-Oh! XYZ monsters. Now, they're not quite as powerful as Synchro monsters yet, but that's because they're easier to summon. So, they have their own benefits, and because of their summoning conditions, they can probably fit into any deck. So, anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with a whole new toy as we continue Kohdok's 12 Toys of Christmas. Happy Holidays! This review is brought to you by the number 39 and the letter